Brazil, China, Iran, and Saudi Arabia. Not exactly a natural team. They disagree on plenty, but they all sit at the same table, BRICS. BRICS is a group of 11 countries that meet to coordinate. It started with Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Since 2024, it has also included Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Indonesia. So, what are they actually there for? In this video, we follow the map and break it down into 5 things countries can get from the group, and one big problem that comes with having a bigger table.
First, what is BRICS? It is a political and diplomatic coordination forum. Its work is organized around 3 broad pillars: politics and security, economy and finance, and people-to-people cooperation. It is not NATO. It is not the European Union. It has no common army, no single currency, and no unified foreign policy. Members make decisions by consensus. That gives every country a seat at the table. It also means that every country can make the table harder to move.
The name began as an economic label. In 2001, Goldman Sachs economist Jim O'Neill coined BRIC for Brazil, Russia, India, and China. Their governments began meeting as a political group in 2006. South Africa joined in 2011. The finalists changed the map and the conversation. BRIC was no longer only 4 rising economies. It became a wider forum with an African member and a more explicit argument about global influence.
The first thing BRICS can offer is a louder voice. Across official BRICS statements, one theme returns. Global institutions should give developing countries more representation and reflect the world as it is now, not only the balance of power after the Second World War. That is why the original map matters. Brazil brings Latin America. India and China bring Asia at enormous scale. Russia brings a major Eurasian power. South Africa adds an African voice to the original group. The point is not that these countries agree on every international question. They do not. The point is that they can agree that the room itself should have more chairs. So the first benefit is representational. BRICS gives countries another place to argue for a more multipolar and more inclusive system.
The second thing is more economic and development options. This is where the BRICS story becomes more concrete. In 2014, the group created the New Development Bank to finance infrastructure and sustainable development in developing countries. That does not make the bank a replacement for the World Bank. And joining BRICS does not automatically make a country a member of the bank. They are separate structures. But the logic is clear. If development finance is available through more than one institution, governments have more ways to fund roads, energy, sanitation, mobility, and climate projects. The same logic appears in BRICS discussions about trade, finance, and reform of the international financial system. The aim is not necessarily one new currency. The more defensible claim is simpler. Members want more room to shape the rules and more options inside them.
The third thing is strategic room. Countries do not have to treat membership in one forum as a resignation from every other forum. Indonesia is the clearest example. Its official explanation presents BRICS as South-South cooperation and a more inclusive global order. But Indonesia also works through other international and regional institutions. The same pattern appears across the expanded group. The UAE describes BRICS through multilateralism, balanced strategic and economic relations, trade and investment. Saudi Arabia brings Gulf energy and capital. Iran brings a major regional power with a very different relationship to Western governments. These countries do not need identical foreign policies for the forum to be useful. They can use the same table while keeping other doors open. That is not the same as neutrality. It is diversification. That is 3 of the 5. If the map is making this clearer, Please subscribe.
The fourth thing is geography itself. More connections between regions. Egypt places the forum between the Mediterranean, Northeast Africa, the Arab world, and the Suez route. BRICS does not control Suez. Egypt's importance is that the map now has a bridge between regions whose trade and diplomacy already overlap. Ethiopia adds a deeper Horn of Africa presence. The UAE adds a Gulf logistics and investment hub. Indonesia extends the map into Southeast Asia and the world's largest archipelago. This is why a membership map is more informative than a flag montage. The question is not just who is colored in. It is which regions can now see one another through the same forum.
The fifth thing is practical cooperation. BRICS now works across areas including climate, health, artificial intelligence, science, technology, trade, and finance. In 2025, the Rio Summit produced documents covering global governance, climate finance, artificial intelligence, and health. This matters because countries do not need to agree about everything to cooperate on one project. They can share research, create working groups, or coordinate a position on a specific institution. But cooperation in one area is not proof of a common worldview. A joint document is evidence of agreement on that document, not evidence that 11 governments have become one.
Now, the 5 benefits create a problem. Expansion increases the forum's geographic reach. It adds Africa, the Gulf, the Middle East, and Southeast Asia. But every new member also adds another government, another regional priority, and another chance that consensus becomes difficult. The expansion happened in stages. The Johannesburg leaders invited 5 new countries for 2024, and Indonesia entered in 2025. The current 2026 framework lists 11 members, while partners belong to a separate category. Saudi Arabia is a useful evidence check. It is on the official BRICS list. That is where the number 11 comes from. But Saudi officials have not publicly confirmed that accession is finished. So, the honest version is that we are counting the official list, and one seat at that table is still quieter than the rest.
The map can now look enormous. That is exactly when we need to be careful. 11 countries do not automatically make one bloc. A large population does not automatically create coordinated power. Energy production does not mean shared energy policy, and the phrase Global South does not erase disagreements between members. BRICS is better understood as overlapping interests than as a single team. Some members want more representation in global institutions. Some want more development and financial options. Some want strategic room. Some want regional connections. Some want practical cooperation. Those goals can overlap in one meeting and collide in the next.
So can a bigger BRICS table act together? Test 1. Can it coordinate practical cooperation? Yes. The group has institutions, working groups, and documented projects across finance, climate, health, and technology. Test 2. Can it give developing countries a stronger platform? Yes. That is a repeated official objective, and the expanded map gives the platform more regional reach. Test 3. Can it act like one coherent bloc whenever national interests collide? That remains unproven. Consensus can produce a shared statement, but it can also slow the group down or narrow what it can say. The honest answer is not that BRICS will replace the G7. The honest answer is that BRICS is becoming another important table, one whose influence may come from coordination without full unity.
BRICS started as 4 letters describing 4 rising economies. It became a political forum, added South Africa, expanded across new regions, and now brings 11 countries to the same table. They are not there for one identical reason. They are using the forum for a mix of voice, options, strategic room, connections, and practical cooperation. That is BRICS' strength, and its problem. The table is more representative than before. It is also harder to move as one.
Which country do you think gains the most from having this table available? If you learned something new, please subscribe.